Welcome to SI Now. I'm Robin Lundberg here with Madeline Burke. And Madeline, an unwelcome sight last night as Steph Curry turned his ankle yet again, leaving a Warriors win over the Spurs. Curry will not play in at least Golden State's next 2 games after injuring his right ankle for the 2nd time in 6 days and the 4th time this season. His teammate Draymond Green said what we were all thinking. Quote, with Steph's ankle injuries, it's always a worry, especially he's done it so many times where you can kind of tell immediately whether he can get through it or not just by his reaction. Just by that reaction that he had tonight, it's kind of a worry. So the question is, just how much of a worry is it?
I think it's absolutely a worry. I mean, Steph Curry going out for whatever period of time this could be. Kevin Durant can step up and be the alpha dog, but it takes the unguardable big 4 down to a garden variety big 3 in Golden State. And this ankle issue has been a thing for Steph. I mean, he had surgery on his right ankle in May of 2011 after repeated sprained ankles in the 2010-11 season. He had surgery again in April 2012 after aggravating the ankle several times during the 11-12 season. Now, that was a 66-game lockout shortened season, but he only played 26 of those games because of those repeated ankle injuries. Now, he's already missed 15 games so far this year. December 4th, he had a bad sprain in New Orleans. January 10th, he re-sprained it at shoot-around. March 2nd, he had a minor sprain. March 8th, he had a sprain. How much will these ankle injuries, as they keep re-popping up, affect his career, affect the longevity of his career, and affect the performance of the Golden State Warriors?
Yeah, there's a micro and a macro aspect to this. In the micro, you're talking about the Warriors themselves and how much this impacts them. And, you know, there are some reasons to go, hey, they may not be the prohibitive favorite we all thought they were. They still have Kevin Durant, who was great last night. And both Durant and Curry are sensational to watch when the other's out, but they're not the same team without both of them together. And then there's the macro aspect, which is, as a basketball fan, I'm super worried. Look, Steph Curry is an unbelievable player. He's brilliant to watch, and this was something that plagued him. I mean, it was part of the reason the Warriors were able to build this dynasty, because they got him on a super value contract, perhaps the best value contract that ever existed in sports. You thought you were done with this. To see it pop back up, of course it's a worry, and I hope he gets better, because basketball in the NBA is a better place with Steph Curry in it.
Exactly, and the Warriors, while they are still dominant with him on the sideline, Houston Rockets are pressing, and I mean, Warriors are half game back behind Houston. That is a close race. Without Steph Curry, makes that one even closer. Another injury we saw, the Celtics. They got a good win in Minnesota Thursday night, but not without a scary moment. Jaylen Brown took a hard fall on his neck and his back after a dunk. He lost his grip on the rim and did nearly a full backflip on the way down. Now, he was down for several minutes being attended to by medical staff before being able to walk off on his own power. But the broadcast replayed the fall several times last night. With bad injuries like this, should networks show multiple replays?
I believe they should. I mean, this reminds me of a journalism ethics class I took where they talked about whether, you know, grotesque pictures or something that happened should be shown on the front of a newspaper per se. And I always argued, yes, that's the news. You should show it. You shouldn't censor it. Perhaps you can offer a disclaimer before you show an injury like this over and over again. But there is validity to it because, one, it is what happened. And then, two, sometimes you're trying to see exactly what happened. None of us are doctors here in this studio or putting this show together, but we have watched a lot of athletic injuries, and you want to get a perspective on what exactly took place. So, one, it's reality, and two, there is value in seeing what actually transpired.
I do agree that there is value in seeing what happened, and I do agree that, you know, as a media, it's responsibility to report the news or to show what happened. But in cases like this, I will argue that there is some sensitivity to be taken into consideration. When he falls on his neck, on his back, I mean, I'd compare it to the Ryan Shazier injury that we had earlier this season in the NFL. If you see something that severe that could be, you know, potentially life-threatening or life-changing, out of sensitivity to the player's family, can you imagine, you know, being at home and watching your brother, your son, your spouse suffer something that drastic and see it over and over again and not understand what's happening? So I think there's a level of sensitivity to be understood. It's one thing if it's a broken bone and it's just kind of gross to look at because you understand that. But watching this and seeing, okay, could he have been paralyzed? Could he have suffered a traumatic brain injury? Could he have suffered a bad neck injury? There are so many questions when you fall on your head and your neck like that. due to the sensitivity of that and the long-term effects, I could see where they could possibly scale back and maybe show it just once or twice.
Well, there are unique situations, and that's, again, why I say maybe offer a disclaimer before you show something so you could give a family member or someone with a personal connection or anyone who just doesn't want to see it a chance to get away from watching it. But if we're talking about football specifically, you brought up Shazier's injury. Again, that's the reality of football. So it's one of the reasons we talk about it being such a dangerous sport. Of course, this is more of a freak instance in basketball. The NFL seems to be emulating the NBA this offseason, though, with all the player movement. The latest move being the Broncos trading cornerback Aqib Talib to the Rams for a fifth-round pick. With LA now landing both Talib and Marcus Peters, and the Seahawks trading Michael Bennett to Philly, with Richard Sherman rumored to be released, has a new Legion of Boom been formed south of Seattle?
First of all, with Seattle, it looks like it's Legion of Boom goes the dynamite. They blew that thing up. Everyone's out of there. As for LA, Aqib Talib is reunited with his former defensive coordinator, Wade Phillips, which will be exciting to see. The Rams also traded for Marcus Peters earlier in the week. That lands the Rams 2 of the top 20 quarterbacks in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus. They are going to be very exciting to watch in the secondary for this Rams team. Now, their pass defense wasn't awful last season. They were 11th in opponent yards per pass attempt. They were 7th in opponent's average quarterback passer rating. But both of these guys, while they are great players on the field, they also have their headaches. I mean, we got to remember, Peters had that cheap shot at Derek Carr, caused the Raiders' O-line and all these, ejections and suspensions with Marshawn Lynch, etc. Michael Crabtree and Aqib Talib, that gold chain snatching incident that went back and forth throughout the season, causing both to be ejected and suspended. These guys are both very talented and passionate, but there's a line, and if they can be contained and reined in a little bit, they could be very successful with this team.
Well, the Rams were very good last year, but in football, it doesn't always work where you just say, hey, we put a name on this team and it's going to work out, because you have concerns. With Peters, why were the Chiefs so willing to get rid of him? With Talib, he's getting up there, 32 years old, at a position where athleticism is at a premium. So I don't think it's necessarily a home run that they wind up in LA and that defense is vaunted. It could work out, but I'm not going to proclaim them to be what Seattle proved they were.
I mean, talented guys with some risks involved, but scared money don't make money, Robin.
It does not.
All right, Serena Williams is back after a 14-month absence from the game of tennis. Williams made her much-anticipated return to the WTA with a win against 53rd-ranked Serena Dias. Now, it was Williams' first match since capturing her 23rd Grand Slam title at the 2017 Australian Open. There, she was 6 weeks pregnant with her daughter, Alexis Olympia. Now, Williams has been public about the complications she had during childbirth, saying she almost died in the process. How powerful was it watching her return to the sport in elite fashion after what she went through after delivering a child, now a mother? Now she's back out here.
I almost think it was taken for granted, and I do my best not to take greatness for granted. And also, with Serena, she got to such a height where you wondered, can she possibly add to her legacy? I mean, even to succeed in a young person's sport at, her age was impressive, but to do it after a pregnancy and a pregnancy rife with complications, I don't know if everyone quite understands that, because it can be routine, but, from personal experience, not obviously myself, but my wife giving birth to my first child, there was an emergency surgery situation. It's very scary. The recovery can take a long time. So for Serena to not only go through that and get back to regular life, but to go through that and get back to the pinnacle of athleticism, it's incredibly impressive.
I agree. And, on any other night, a first-round match at a non-major between the greatest player in Grand Slam history and a 24-year-old with one singles title to her name would probably not be much to look at. But this, I think, was definitely a draw. The crowd cheering "Welcome home, Serena" as she came back onto the court. And, the usually kind of focused, straight-faced Serena Williams even cracked a smile. It was, you could see the joy that she felt being back out there.
And we can see your comments. Karen writes in, feel bad for Jaylen, not so much for Curry. They got Durant. Don't think it should be a worry for the Warriors. Well, that doesn't really mean you should have no worry for Steph Curry's health. Of course, it is March, so it's fitting Duke and North Carolina will play tonight in the ACC tournament. I talked to college basketball analyst Seth Davis about what we can expect as the big dance approaches. Everyone's saying this, but it's probably true, right? As wide open as perhaps it's ever been. Is there a favorite in your mind?
First of all, I would backtrack everybody. Anytime you're saying it's ever been, like, it is, well, there's no dominant team. There's usually no dominant team. That's actually the exception when there is a dominant team. But I will say that
even a dominant bunch of teams.
yeah,
So,
that's a great point. That's exactly right. That you have a dominant like top tier, and I don't even know that we have that this year. I mean, you have the usual list of about 6 to 8 teams that realistically have a chance to win this. Now, can somebody come from outside that group? Of course. But generally speaking, that's basically where your tier is. And, you have a lot of really good candidates. Virginia is one of the best defensive teams that we've seen in college basketball in a long time. They're better offensively than they've been. Duke started off as a great offensive team and a bad defensive team, and now they're playing zone all the time, which is amazing to see, but it's really fixed a lot of their problems, and they've gotten healthy and developed their bench. Villanova is a very exciting, dynamic, guard-oriented team. They don't guard as well as some of their teams have in the past. No one's talking about Xavier as a potential championship favorite, but they're pretty locked into a #1 seed. And then Michigan State and Michigan, I think, are two other teams that come to mind. Carolina's lurking out there. So it's the thing about the NCAA tournament is it's 67 games played over 2.5 weeks. The majority of the games are not that interesting. I watch all of them as part of my job. It's the best part of my job. But there's always going to be that 6 to 12 games that are epic that you're going to talk about for a long time. So everybody kind of hangs around to watch those games. I promise those games are going to happen. And no matter what happens, the tournament is basically bulletproof because of the format and the culture around it, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, one of the great formats of all time. I would say the NCAA tournament bracket and the WWE's Royal Rumble.
There you go.
Formats that can't be messed with at all. Is there a team that you didn't mention that not only could play spoiler but could win the whole thing?
Well, don't look now, but Gonzaga is looking real good again. Now, it is often hard to gauge them because they're playing in a weak conference. But, last year they proved that they were a great team. Now, this team is not as good as last year, primarily because they're not as good defensively as last year's team. And then maybe a little bit further off the beaten path, I really like Rhode Island as a team that is built for today's college basketball, smaller team, a lot of interchangeable parts, big guards, 6'5", 6'6", 6'4", across the front, and they defend well on the perimeter. They're quick. They're a little bit suspect inside, but there really aren't a lot of good postmen in college basketball or the NBA for that matter. And when you do have a big post guy, a lot of times they're too big because the game is moving so fast. So I would tend, if you're looking for teams, I would tend towards teams that are a little bit smaller, quicker, and versatile. Those teams tend to do well.
Who's the individual player that could have the biggest impact on the tournament and or rise their stock the most?
Well, we've had a couple. Obviously, Trae Young at Oklahoma. Now he hasn't had a good last month and a half. He's still my National Player of the Year. He's the first player in history to lead the country in scoring and assists. I think against high caliber competition, I think that's POY worthy. And then the other two freshmen, Marvin Bagley at Duke and DeAndre Ayton at Arizona. Ayton is amazing. I mean, he is kind of a cross between Shaq and Kevin Garnett.
He reminds me a little bit of Joel Embiid, actually.
Yeah, that's pretty good, but Embiid was certainly not this good this soon. DeAndre Ayton is legitimately skilled. He's got a great feel for the game, like you see in international kids, like in Embiid, who come to the game late playing other sports, and in a lot of their cases they grew up playing soccer. And then they make that transition when they're teenagers because they become so tall, and someone in their country says, hey, you're really tall, you should be playing basketball. And DeAndre Ayton has that coming from the Bahamas and having that hunger and that appreciation for his opportunity. And he's just he's 7'1", 270, chiseled. Gets up off the floor.
Brolic, as the kids say.
Yeah, he's big. He's the type of player who can put a team on his back and take them all the way to San Antonio.
I'm joined now by Carlos Boozer and Nate Robinson of SI's new Hold That podcast. You can subscribe wherever podcasts are available, and they come to us courtesy of Toyota. Let's go places. I want to start with Nate Robinson's big broadcast debut for TNT the other night. Carlos, how would you grade? How did Nate do there?
He did great, man. He hit me up before with his outfit game. His outfit was on point. Real proud of you, bro.
Nate, how do you grade yourself?
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. It was just fun. It was just really, really fun to be out there with Brent Barry, Dennis Scott, and everybody that was, on TNT, Shaq, Baron Davis, and it was Shaq's birthday yesterday, so happy birthday to Big Diesel, and Chris Webber, and Isaiah Thomas was all players only, so I had a good time.
You guys are basically professional broadcasters now, but I never really thought of you, to be honest, together. I never thought Carlos Boozer and Nate Robinson. Nate, how good of friends are you guys actually?
Man, Carlos is like, one of my best friends, I would say, man. He was a big brother that I never had. Carlos always, kind of made me a priority as being a friend and checking on me and my kids. So he just made it easy, to be around and easy to to love him like a brother, man. And it's been fun ever since. We've been teammates in Chicago. We had one hell of a run, and ever since then we've been friends. And now we're here doing a podcast together, and it's only getting better.
When you think basketball player podcasts, you might go J.J. Redick and Road Trippin' with Richard Jefferson, Channing Frye. Carlos, you view those guys as inspiration or competition?
I don't even think about them, Mark. We're bringing something totally different to the table, to be honest, man. The enthusiasm that me and Nate have, we're very charismatic. We're very vocal. We're very loud. We scream a lot. We say "hold that" a lot. We're very passionate. So I don't really think about those guys. Great guys, but we have a whole different thing on our podcast.
When you talk about the podcast, I've been listening to it, and Nate, in the most recent one, you said at a different height, you'd be LeBron James, Michael Jordan, one of those guys. So, Carlos,
right.
You didn't really follow up on it. I need to ask you, Nate Robinson at 6'6", is he Michael Jordan? Is that facts or not facts?
Nate, by far, is one of the best athletes I've ever played with. He's one of those gym rats that always stay in the gym, always working hard. I mean, even right now, he's in tip-top shape. He can go on somebody's team right now and help somebody out. So I definitely believe with his skill set, his work ethic, his drive, his passion, if he was 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", you'd be talking about him as one of the best ever. Especially if you had a coach that would believe in him.
Was that a problem for you, Nate?
They just looked at me as more of a show and a little guy that can just get it going when, I brought more to the game than just dunks and highlights. I actually, love the game. I love to play. And one thing about myself that I love is I love to compete. I love to be the best, and I love to win. So I believe that if I was 6'5", I could do it now at 5'9" if they gave me that, a real opportunity on a real team with a real coach that believed in me. I believe that I can be, one of the best ever to play the game, no matter what height. But if I was definitely 6'5", I definitely would be up there with the LeBrons, Kobe's, and Jordans for sure.
Now, right now, I know you're interested in maybe making a comeback. Which team do you think could use you the most?
I watched last night almost every team in the league, but just in general, last night I watched OKC. Their bench only scored 20 points as a bench. I've scored 20 points in quarters before. Not saying that it's not possible to be done from anybody in that team or even myself knowing, but I know who I am inside. I know what I've done in the past, and with my work ethic now, and me being a veteran, I understand the game. I want to be able to, to help a team with energy off the bench and scoring and just bring what I bring, and that's being Nate Robinson. I just want to be, have the opportunity to do so. But I think the Thunder could definitely use a player like me off the bench.
Carlos, I think I heard you say every team. You want to serve as Nate's agent? What are your thoughts on that?
Nate could definitely come off the bench for somebody, be a veteran leadership in the locker room on that bench. This is the era of the scoring point guard, and Nate's been doing this his whole life, so it'd be easy for him to school a young guy that was trying to get acclimated to the NBA. Me personally, I think every team could use a guy like Nate. When we had him in Chicago, he was our spark plug, man. We would come in, he would come off the bench. If D. Rose had got hurt, he would come in and start. He had a great series against Darren Williams when we played the Brooklyn Nets in the playoffs. So if you look back at Nate's track record and what he's done for his career in limited minutes, he's been amazing. So his body is still fresh because he only played a few minutes every season. So even right now in tip-top shape at 33, he's more fresh than most guys his age would be.
Carlos, I got to tell you, I wish I was where you are right now. a couple of episodes ago, you guys were talking about the NCAA tournament, and you told a story about how, you didn't want any handouts, but you understood why guys might have taken some stuff, and that you both think college athletes should be paid. Carlos, what do you think of the idea that's been floated out there by some that some of the guys should consider boycotting the NCAA tournament?
Well, I don't know about the whole boycott of the NCAA tournament. I just think each individual has their own circumstances. I do believe that the majority of kids need college to mature, to grow, to be away from mom and dad for a little bit, to continue to grow up before they get to the NBA level. But there are a few kids every year that are, potentially NBA ready out of high school. So.
Real quick on a couple of the NBA topics right now. Nate, obviously you were familiar with the Rockets. And I saw you made good with Mike D'Antoni over All-Star Weekend. I haven't heard anybody go on the record and say the Rockets can beat the Warriors. Do you think the Rockets can beat the Warriors?
I mean, they have what it takes. I mean, they have the, all the way down the roster. I would say they can match up the best with the Warriors. They can score just as fast and just as much. So that would probably be the Western Conference, championship to get to the finals would definitely be them two playing each other.
And then the other looming storyline over the whole season, I'll ask you guys both this real quick. LeBron James and his status. Part 1, does he get back to the finals? Part 2, where does he play next year? Carlos, what do you got?
I think they get back to the finals. I think they beat the Celtics. And next year, I think he goes to L.A.
It looks nice.
Wow, I don't think the King's gonna leave Cleveland again. He can't do that to the people. He already did it once. I don't think he'll leave again.
It's not going to happen? All right, well, you can find out that and more with the Hold That podcast. Nate Robinson, Carlos Boozer, new SI podcast. Subscribe wherever podcasts are available. Facts, right?
You dig.
All right. You dig.
The Paralympics begin today in Pyeongchang, South Korea, and while these athletes might not have the name recognition of Lindsey Vonn or Shaun White, they're no less impressive and obviously no less inspiring. Sports Illustrated has partnered with Toyota's Start Your Impossible campaign to highlight a handful of Paralympians who refuse to let their disabilities hold them back. Today, alpine skier Mitch Gourley.
Impossible is being a downhiller from Australia. We don't have any mountains high enough to ski downhill or to even race Super G. Chasing that dream of becoming a downhiller and a World Cup athlete is difficult, and it requires a lot of time on the road and a lot of grinding away and asking for a lot of favours. One part of growing up with a disability is that you've always got a little bit of a chip on your shoulder, and you've always got a little bit more to prove than anybody else. So I think my drive comes from that desire and will to compete that was cultivated in me as a young kid, and ultimately to gain the respect of those that I respect. I want those guys and their coaches to turn around and say, that was some impressive skiing. So when I was younger, I was probably motivated by results. As I've got older, I've become more and more pushed to try and push the sport to places it hasn't been before. When we're free to move, anything is possible.
We've told you about SITV, our new premium content network with original shows, exclusive documentaries, and your favorite sports movies. But here's another clip showing what the service has to offer. A look at the U.S. Pond Hockey Championships, featuring 300 teams and more than 2,500 players. To see the full thing, start your free trial of SITV on Amazon Channels.
We're in the city of Minneapolis on Lake Nokomis. This is the 13th annual U.S. Pond Hockey Championships. We have 300 teams, 2,500 players that travel in from all over the country, all over Canada, to come down and play hockey the way nature intended.
This is truly the ultimate hockey weekend and the ultimate hockey experience.
With the Mighty Drunks from Nashville. I live in LA now, but gotta come to Minnesota to get some snow, you know?
Eden Prairie, Minnesota, and we just come out and watch hockey.
These guys went out till 5 in the morning last night.
This is the experience that we live for, to be out here in the outdoors, having a bar on the ice. That's something you can't have anywhere else.
This is the most ice I've seen since the last time I opened my freezer.
It's the best kind of hockey. It's how we grew up playing hockey as kids.
This is our Disneyland. It really is. This is the greatest weekend. I look forward to this 365 days a year, and I didn't sleep for the last 3-4 nights. I was that excited. I've got time. I got a seat and a beer. My name is Gino Parrish. I am from Bloomington, Minnesota. I play for the Wright Holmes 4-star hockey team. I've been playing in this tournament for 10 years. This is something that's just the norm. What you do in Minnesota when you're growing up is you go to the local pond. We didn't have access to an ice hockey rink. You know, nobody had, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars, but, you know, we went to the pond because that was the only place that we could hang out. My sole focus since I was 6 years old was, you know, hockey, till girls came along. I played in, you name it. I played on 11 teams in 8 years and had an absolute blast. You know, some would call that a suitcase hockey player, but I would like to say I was well-traveled.
Where'd you get that jersey?
Down in Chicago. Hey, Neva.
I play for that team. The Trashers out of Connecticut. Yeah. Goon squad.
Let's get some beverages.
It's 156 cans. We get asked all the time if it's what you win for the tournament, which, in case you're looking, Labatt's like maybe make a Stanley Cup out of beer cans and give that as the trophy. And then up top's just your everyday mixing bowl from Walmart. A lot of Gorilla Glue, a lot of patience, and a couple set screws. A lot of hangovers too. So, name's John LaFada. I play for Team Solid Oak, and the whole team's from southeastern Detroit. So I started skating when I was about 2 years old. All of us did, and the whole team's pretty much been playing together since we were about 7, 8 years old.
Hey coach, what's happening, AJ? Tell the next man what your name is. AJ Rowell. What the hell does AJ stand for? Anson James.
I'm AJ Rowell. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I play for Solid Oak. Yeah, so I started playing hockey when I was about 3 years old or so. We've been through a lot together. We've deaths in the family, bad relationships, you know, and these guys never waver. So it's the type of thing when something like this comes around, it's important for us to make sure no matter what's going on, we make it happen.
It's time for SI Now's Weekend Drive, presented by Toyota. Let's go places. First, we head to Brooklyn for an ACC Championship semifinal game featuring two bitter rivals, Duke and North Carolina. This is the third time this season these two teams are meeting, with the series tied at 1 apiece, with both teams winning on their home court. Despite this not being the big dance, Tar Heels head coach Roy Williams knows just how big this game is to his team.
It is one game, but it's a really big game. You know, I always say it's the biggest game because it's, and the players repeat to me, it's today's game. And you don't have to say anything more than that about the Duke game. We just have, the team has so much respect for them.
This is the second time these teams are meeting in the ACC semifinals, with Duke being the victor a year ago. Next, we head to England for some Premier League action between Manchester United and Liverpool. Both teams are neck and neck in the standings, with Liverpool holding a 2-point lead over the Red Devils for second place. Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp is prepared for an even match.
What they do fantastic, but it's a good thing is it's not completely unpredictable. So positions are clear. The only problem is they have on each position and a world-class player can do the best he can on this position, but it's not like the ball is here, the next second is there or something like that, so you can defend it, of course, but it's really difficult.
Last time out at Anfield, it was a draw, so this match will garner more importance. Finally, we head to Toronto for a battle between the #1 seeds in the NBA. The Raptors will host the Rockets, who are riding a 17-game win streak. Rockets star guard James Harden pinpoints effort and communication as the keys to his team's success.
Our effort and our communication. You know, you might miss shots, you might turn the basketball over, but our effort's been there consistently, and our communication. You know, we cover up for each other, and you know, guys are gonna make mistakes. We're gonna turn the ball over, or whatever, but we have each other's back to make up a lot of stuff.
The Rockets have beaten every team in the NBA except for 3, the Wizards, the Pistons, and the Raptors. And that's what's in store